Hello and welcome to my review of the Daleks Master Plan. This is probably one of the most anticipated videos of November for most people because they finally get to hear my thoughts on this epic 12-part Dalek adventure. So without further ado, let the review commence and let's look at the Daleks Master. Okay, for the cover art we have BBC Radio Collection. We have a picture of the Doctor there, some Daleks, Sarah Kingdom, the Delegates, Stephen, a Dalek, Marvic Chen, another Dalek, and a pyramid there. Includes a bonus episode, The Mission to the Unknown, the sort of prequel to the Daleks Master Plan. On the side we've got Doctor Who, the Daleks Master Plan, BBC, and then again we have the cover there. Then we have the blurb, so do feel free to pause to know about the Daleks Master Plan, and the total running time is 5 hours and 20 minutes, and I will say that is 5 hours and 20 minutes of your life well spent. So now let's look inside the actual CD disc itself. 1 is Mission to the Unknown, then the remaining 4 discs are the Daleks Master Plan, each CD containing 3 episodes, and the artwork is exactly the same on all the discs. Now for the booklet, if we open it up, we have some notes about Mission to the Unknown, the cast members and what the story is about. Then we have the cast list for the Daleks Master Plan. As you can see, it's got quite a big cast list, and of course it's going to have a big cast list. And then we have some little bits of bio about it, and then sort of a bit of history about it going on. Then we have the track listings there, so quite a few, obviously, because there's a fair few CDs going on there. And then we have advertisement for other lost and other stories, part of the radio collection series really. So there we are. And then if you want to know more about radio collection there and contacting them, that's basically how it's presented. Now let us begin the actual review of the Daleks Master Plan. Where to start with the Daleks Master Plan? What an epic story it is. I have to say that this story is really ambitious for the time, and I have to say they pull it off brilliantly. And I've said before that this is the mother of all Hartnells, and I stand by that. This is truly one of Hartnell's greatest story, if not the greatest Hartnell story what is out there. It is truly magnificent. I love this story to bits, and rightly so. It just definitely deserves that title. You know, with each episode, with nearly each episode being in a different location, with it ranging from the jungles of Kemble to ancient Egypt. So I'm going to talk about the Daleks first. Now the Daleks feel like a huge threat in this story. They're powerful, they're dominant, they're sly, they're devious, they're manipulative, they're cunning. They're everything what Daleks should be, and I just think that this is probably one of their strongest stories out there. I have to say that they're at their best. They're just fantastic in this. And definitely is, I have to say, this is probably my favourite 60s Dalek story. Now on to my favourite guest character in this, which is Marvic Chen, played brilliantly by Kevin Stoney. The character of Marvic Chen just works brilliantly with the Daleks, with him being, belittling the Daleks in some scenes and having, power, because he has this Terranium core and the Daleks want it, and it's really interesting seeing the Daleks having that being less powerful, and Marvic Chen having that bit of power over them. Marvic Chen, he's sly, he's devious, he's basically a Dalek but sort of a humanoid form. He's brilliant, with him plotting and sort of betraying the delegates, and getting them killed. He just makes Master Plan even better. I mean, the little details in his characterization, with the way he holds a pen and writes, he's brilliantly brought to life by Kevin Stoney. That he's this power-hungry character, and as the story progresses, he becomes more corrupt, and he just loses his mind towards the end of it, which is just fantastic. It's just great how, and I'm just going to say this in general, all the characters in the Daleks Master Plan go on a journey, and that's fantastic. That you have all these brilliant characters in this, and they're played brilliantly by some fantastic actors, and they just go on their own journey, and I'll go into that later on. He's just, Marvic Chen, fantastic character, played brilliantly by Kevin Stoney. Obviously this isn't his first, his only appearance in Doctor Who. Is in The Invasion, and I can't remember that character's name, and he's brilliant in that. So Kevin Stoney, hats off to you, you fantastic actor. You just brought this character of Marvic Chen to life fantastically. Now on to William Hartnell. This is definitely Hartnell's finest hour as the Doctor. We were seeing every aspect of Hartnell's Doctor. With my personal favourite episodes for Hartnell is the Escape Switch and the Destruction of Time, and I have to say they're some of his finest moments as the Doctor, and Hartnell really does nail the Doctor spot on, and it's definitely it's my favourite Hartnell story. Hartnell's just brilliant in this, but he has this sense of urgency. He can be dark and grungy and grumpy, and still quite light-hearted in some episodes, so it's very interesting having that balance of Hartnell in it. It's just great that we get to see his scientific side. He's just overall fantastic in this, as I keep saying, because this story is just brilliant. Stephen, played brilliantly by Peter Purves. This story is a fantastic character piece for Stephen, with him being quite demoralised when he reflects in episode 12 on how many people have died in this adventure just to stop the Daleks. It's one of the most beautiful scenes in this, and quite dark scenes as well. And Stephen realising the only person he has left in his life is the Doctor. Purves does a fantastic job, playing Stephen with, throughout the story, we get to see Stephen be all these different aspects of his character, from him being this desperate fugitive to this comedy policeman to this quite agonised victim, which is just great, and it shows, and the story also shows the magical chemistry between the Doctor and Stephen, which really does reflect Hartnell and Peter Purves' relationship, which is just great. Sarah Kingdom, what a really interesting character and well written character she is. Despite being in only 8 episodes, her character is really developed, from her being this ruthless and sort of emotionless character to being this sort of heroic, gentle and self-sacrificing character. So it's interesting, over the span of 8 episodes, her character just develops and flourishes with the Doctor and Stephen, which is just great, and it's perfect casting. Jean Marsh is just fantastic casting for this, and in my eyes, I think Sarah Kingdom has had more of a journey than Dodo and Harry Sullivan and Liz Shaw in the TARDIS. It just shows that she has had this adventure and the character progression. She's just had brilliant character progression compared to Dodo and likes of that, really. So she's just great. Iconic imagery. The Dalek Master Plan does have some iconic scenes, ranging from the Daleks burning down Kemble's jungle, down to the first companion's death on screen, which is quite a hard-hitting scene. And Katarina, I haven't really mentioned her, is a wonderful character, and she has some nice moments with the first Doctor. In the Day of Armageddon, I really do like those scenes between them. With her thinking the TARDIS is this other heaven, and Hartnell is God, and I think that's really interesting, and it's kind of sad seeing her go. But she didn't sign up for all this, she was just there for the ride in a way, and it's quite a sad moment, really. Despite only being in not many episodes, she's just gone out in a flash, so it's just brilliant, really. Down to the first Doctor breaking the fourth wall. We've got the Daleks, killing people in Egypt, just ruthlessly just exterminating people, and the return of the meddling monk. Even though this isn't his best outing, it's still nice to see him in there, and Peter Butterworth, who plays him, is just superb and really does add this sort of bit of light to this dark and bleak story. Episode 12, I have to say, is probably the most dark and bleak Doctor episode I have ever experienced, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's so dark and beautiful at the same time, the ending of it. It is one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, and is one of the strongest episodes of all time. It is truly magnificent, and it's just brilliant, really is. Now, 12 parts, there are going to be negatives, and I only have one negative, and that is the Feast of Stephen. Now, I don't mind the Feast of Stephen. The bit when it starts to fall apart for me is when they go to Hollywood. It just doesn't add anything to the plot. It just slows the story down. It could easily be cut and it would work fine. Honestly, it could easily be an 11-part story and still work brilliantly without it. But it's just a bit of fun. I suppose that's a bit you've got to go look into the Feast of Stephen. If you think that it's just a light-hearted little adventure, then you'll enjoy it. And I did enjoy it up until the Hollywood bit, when I thought it just got a bit runny-roundy and that. But overall, a fast-paced adventure, suspenseful, full of tension, and action-packed, and full of 60s goodness. Truly a triumphant story for the 60s, and is definitely my favourite story of the 60s and my favourite Hartnell story. All the characters are brilliant. All the characters go on a journey. You know, Brett Vian, I haven't mentioned him, fantastic character, played brilliantly by Nicholas Courtney. It's just a superb story, and it's definitely worth checking out. Words can't describe how good it is. You really need to experience it. I mean, especially episode 12. Don't just go, I just watch episode 12, and don't, because everything the Dalek Master Plan was building up to in episode 12 would just be for nothing. Honestly, the story it builds, it keeps on topping itself. It just keeps on getting better and better as the story goes on, and it truly is a triumph to the 60s and how ambitious they were, and it really does show that Doctor Who can do this movie-esque thing, and it is 5 hours and 20 minutes of your life well spent. So I suppose I better rate it. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. It honestly deserves 10 out of 10. It is superb. Marvic Chen, fantastic characters. Sarah Kingdom, Stephen, the Doctor, Brett Vian, Katarina, the Delegates, the Daleks, they all combine to make this magnificent story, and I would be so happy if this was found, because it is truly a magnificent story, and I highly recommend you guys to check it out, because it is definitely worth a look. So there you are. Those are my thoughts of the Daleks Master Plan. 10 out of 10, that's a rarity on my channel, because I don't normally give 10s, but this is an exception. The Daleks Master Plan, 10 out of 10. Worth checking out. It seriously is. Obviously, don't do it all in one go, because you'll be insane. But that's the thing I found out. As soon as I finished one disc, I wanted to keep on going. It's that good for me. It's a disc turner, a disc changer. It's one of those. I just keep on wanting to flip disc, and I'm like, no, I must rest, because it seriously is. I mean, I finished this in, I think, 4 days it took me to get through this, so it was brilliant, absolutely fantastic, worth checking out. There we are. Thank you very much for watching this review, and I'll see you in my next review, whatever that will be, missing episode or lost story related, that is. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.